Alright, so now I'm ready to start removing parts of my background, and I want to do things carefully so that I don't lose bits. Alright, so I've got my layer 1 here, I've got my background layer here, and background layers don't like to be edited, especially because this one shows a padlock. Normally what I do to get around that locked background if I want to edit that background is that I go up to this little drop down of this little menu option here, and I go up and I duplicate the layer of the background. I can make a copy of that background and hit OK. So what that means is now I've got an editable copy of my background here, and I've got my original background here. I can hit the minimize button here so I can't see that one anymore. I could do that same thing if I want to make sure that I don't destroy this layer if I want to copy and go back to it. I'm not going to worry about that because I still have the original file and I can re-import that in if I needed to. So what I want to do is I want to start getting rid of some of the background here so I can see the egg beneath it. Alright? So my first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch to the lasso tool. I want to have the polygonal lasso showing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a rough series of clicks and trace around. I'm doing left clicks as I go around my shape. And what I'm doing is I'm selecting around, and because I'm going onto an egg, I'm not that worried about the my hair or ears or anything like that. So now I've got a rough set of my selected line here, which I normally refer to as marching ants. So my marching ants are marching along. But that's only selected this bit on the inside. And if I go to the select pull down menu, I can switch to inverse. So inverse basically in this option means the opposite of my selection. So now I'm selected the background, but not the inside of that line. Okay? So with that selected, I can now press the delete key, and that background now goes away. The next thing I want to do is deselect my marching ants because I don't need them anymore. So then I can hit Command D or deselect. With deselect going, I'm selected on layer 1. I can double click on the name of that layer and I could call that something else like face, just to keep things simple. Alright? I can recall this layer egg. Alright, so I've got my egg layer and my face layer. So the first thing I want to do with this face is I want to move it. So if I go to the move tool, I can make sure that auto select is ticked at the top, and I click on my face and it realizes that, hey, the face is what you want. So now I'm dragging that over. Alright, but it looks like I grabbed a photo and I grabbed the scissors and I've just chopped out around it. So with that, I want to make it blend a little bit better. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to erase the edge. So I'm going to look for the eraser tool. With the eraser tool selected, my top toolbar changes and gives me some controls. So the first thing I want to do is I want to modify the size of the brush. All right. So you want to make sure that this mode here says brush, not pencil or block. And I want to change the size of my brush. I'm going to go around something around 60 pixels, but we can change this as we go. And I want my hardness to be 0%. So with that hardness set to 0, and that's over here, I'm on the face layer here. I'm going to use the edge of the eraser to try to smooth out the edges of the bits that I don't need. So I don't need so much of I don't want my hair showing in this, so I'm going to just rub out a lot of my forehead. But I'm going to be careful as I come around the edge of the face because I want that all to show. So now I've erased around the edge. I can keep on going in a little bit. I'm just going to take out a little bit more of that shadow on the edge of my face. I'm getting a lot closer. Alright, so now I've used my eraser tool and I've rubbed out a bit of that. But as these are faces, we run into a few problems. Well, one is that people get particular about spots and whatnot on their face. So Photoshop gives us some wonderful tools. One is called the spot healing brush, or the healing brush tool. So I'm going to look for this little option that looks like a band-aid. I'm going to then take my cursor and look for a spot on my skin that is clear. Alright, and I'm going to hold the Option key down on a Mac and click with my left click. Basically, it's copying the texture of that spot. And then I can click over a spot that has a problem. I can remove shines on different parts of my face. If I don't like the change, I can hit the Command Z, and I can clean up some of that problem. Alright, and if you make a mistake, you can always hit Command Z, or you can go back to your history palette. And that top edge came back a little rough for me, so I can go back in my history and remove out those changes. Alright, so I've got my face in, and in the next video I'm going to show you how to modify the coloring of that face.